Last year, I lost out on months of profit on one of my best Amazon sellings, and this all happened because of a single stock out. By the time I was able to resource the product, it had already been 2 weeks, and the buy box had gone to one of my competitors who was slowly restocking in the background. And this listing just kept selling over and over again, but not for me. But luckily enough, I was able to go and resupply 2 weeks later. The only problem is, by now there'd been a lot more competitors, and the deal itself wasn't as good. And here's the truth that no one talks about. A stock out isn't just a pause, it's a reset. So in today's video, we're going to be walking through the 5 mistakes that sellers make that cause these arbitrage stock outs. Let's get into the video. So the first mistake that sellers make is that they're actually counting the units, not the amount of days it covers. So what do we mean by this? Well, if you go and have 10 units and a product is selling only 10 times a month, you have 1 month's worth of cover. But if you have 10 units and maybe you're getting 100 sales a month, well, now you've only got less than a week's cover. So therefore, for different situations, 10 units can either be enough to suffice a month, or it can actually be a very small amount of units and you really need to be restocking. So if you really want to go and simplify it, what you can do is you can look at the current stock you have divided by the amount of sales that happen a month, and that is the amount of restock days you have. So if you're on the really simplified version, what you can do is look at your stock. You can then look at how many sell a day, and that is how many days of cover you have. But the reason I say it's the simplified version is because it's not really how it is. For example, you might have 7 days worth of stock, but if you were to go and buy stock and then send that stock in, well, that's going to take it potentially a few more days than 7 days. But the reason we say it's simplified is because that isn't really the amount of days of real cover you have. Now, the reason it isn't the amount of days of real cover you have is because there might be a bit of a buffer between when you buy the stock, receive the stock, send it into Amazon, and then it's available. So what you need to do is you need to look at how many days you have left of stock, plus the buffer of how many days it takes for you to buy that stock and get it sent into Amazon, available for buyers to be able to go and get your product. And it's to be noted that even on a really tight sort of pipeline, you're looking at about 7 days to even up to 14 days of when you go and purchase that product to when it's live on Amazon, available for people to go and buy. So for example, I have a product which is a toothbrush, and I'll go and sell this toothbrush every single month, and I'll be able to go and replan it. But the problem is, to go and replan it, it's going to take about 3 to 5 days to receive it. It's then going to go and take another 5 days to go and, have Amazon to be able to sell it. So I'll normally look for a buffer of about, so we're selling about 10 per month. I'm probably going to go and look for a buffer of about 3-4, which again is going to go and give me about a week to a week and a half to be able to go and buy products and go and send them into Amazon. Now, if I want to play a little bit safe, maybe I'd even go up to like 7 units, just so then there's always going to be 1-2 units into Amazon. That's kind of what you want. You want a pipeline of where there's just consistently supply, not too much supply that you're going to be hit with late storage fees, not too little supply that you're going to go and lose out on that buy box and allow competitors to go and camp in. So another really interesting take when it comes to restocking is actually not necessarily all about, okay, well, when the buyer is going to buy the product and it runs out of stock on Amazon. It might be a case of actually where the product is a really good deal. So maybe I'm being able to source it 50% off, 60% off, but I know that, it's probably going to run out, or the deal is going to go and run out in a few days' time. So sometimes what I might go and do is, even though I only maybe want to go and sell a few months worth of stock, I might go and buy 4 months of stock, 5 months of stock, because I know that this deal is so good and I know it's going to run out in excess on Amazon that I want to make sure I have it ready. Like the stock you see right behind me. And this is one thing that SellerToolKit was built for. There is a smart replenishment tool on there which allows you to see every single ASIN and see how many days worth of cover you have, allowing you to go and reorder before you run out of supply. And there is a free trial of SellerToolKit in the link in description. Make sure to go and check it out. So the next thing we're going to be talking about is sales speed. This is basically how fast a product sells out. So for example, if we've got a run-of-the-mill product, let's say we've got a toaster, and a toaster goes and sells at 10 a month. Now, that is, let's say, its average sell speed. But sometimes what there might be factors where there's an increase in demand in the product or a decrease in demand in the product. So we're actually going to switch to sun cream because it's a lot easier to explain. So sun cream, for example, in summer, you might actually see its sell speed pick up. The reason for this is in summer, there's going to be overall more demand for sunscreen. Whereas when we move into winter, what we're going to see is we're going to see a lower demand for sun cream because, well, there's only lucky certain parts of the world that need sun cream in winter. So one of the best ways to understand the variables that can change the demand of a product and the sell speed is by looking at either the 7-day window, the 30-day window, or if you want to get a way bigger idea, the 365-day window. Because the 7-day window is going to show what the demand is right now. The 30-day window is going to show what the demand is right now, what's it been in obviously previous weeks, and then it might foreshadow, well, if it's picked up in the last week or two, maybe it's going to continue picking up, and vice versa. If it's maybe dropped in the last week or two, then it's maybe going to continue to drop. And if you look at the 365-day window, then you can get a bit of an idea of where you might see a repeat in trends. In fact, you can actually go even further than looking at the 365-day window, and you can look at the all-time window. Now, if you consistently see that a product picks up, let's say in the summer, and then drops in the winter, this will give you a very good understanding of what the sell season is going to be like in the winter in comparison to the summer. And this can obviously help you when it comes to restocking a product. It can also help you understand when you maybe want to sell out of a product. Maybe a product is in higher demand, it's selling more, and it's selling for, more consistently in the summer. And then when you get to the winter, it's a bit of a dead product. Well, that might hint that you want to go and try and sell those products, maybe at a lower price to be able to get rid of the quantity rather than being stuck with too much quantity over winter. And one of the biggest variables that can heavily increase the demand, and something you really don't be missing out on, is Q4. What is Q4? It is basically the last quarter of the year. What is that? Christmas, right? During Christmas, everyone kind of near enough has a reason to go and buy stuff. Everyone's got excess money. They've got money to go and burn until the new year. And even personally, I've seen my sales double from Q2 to Q3. Meaning if you're going off of the sales speed of Q2 and Q3 for what Q4 is going to be, you're probably going to be left behind, and you're probably going to go and run out of stock, which can cost you a lot of money if your competitors are aware of the Q4 demand. So mistake 3 is that people aren't aware of how many other sellers there are on their listing. This is also a massive impact if you, let's say, are selling on a listing that doesn't have many sellers, and one of those sellers actually drops off, and now that percentage of the buy box you're going to get is going to absolutely skyrocket. Now, there's an interesting trap with this, because actually, if one seller jumps off, what's going to happen is you're going to probably sell a lot more units. But what is also going to happen, or what isn't going to happen, is the sales rank might not move. The sales rank, if you're not aware, is basically where does this product rank, or how often does this product sell. But let's say it sells 20 units a month, and that's all good. Let's say there's 2 sellers. That means you're going to sell 10 units a month, and the other person's going to sell 10 units a month. But maybe that other person runs out of stock. Now, you're going to go from 10 units, selling 10 units a month, to selling 20 units a month. Now again, the amount of units for the product hasn't increased, but your percentage of the buy box has, and as a result, what's now going to happen is you're going to go and run out of stock a lot faster. And this can happen on the vice versa. Maybe, for example, you're selling on a listing that only has 2 sellers, but maybe there's been a deal somewhere else. You weren't too aware of it, and all of a sudden you've gone from 2 sellers to 20 sellers. Now what's going to happen is the amount of sales that you're going to have is going to lower. For example, we're going to need 20 units again. If there are only 2 of you, you're going to get 10 units each. But now if there are 20 sellers on it, all being competitive for the buy box, you're now only going to sell 1 unit a month. Now, there isn't much you can do with the current stock that you have, maybe it's in the return window, but this is more of a big impact on the resupply. Because if you haven't caught out that you're going from 10 units, selling 10 units a month to 1 unit a month, and you're going to go and resupply 10, 20, now what's going to happen is you're going to be stuck with a lot of excess units. Now, unless you're happy to gamble that all those other people are going to go and sell out, this is a really bad mistake to make, because you now have excess units on stock that you can't shift, whereas maybe that money could be used somewhere else. So an example that I have is basically I was selling a product and there was only one other competitor, and it was brilliant. I was sourcing it for 5 quid, selling it for 17 quid. This is because Amazon would run out of basically stock on this product. But what happened, and I'd go and buy about 10 to 15 of this product every single month. It was amazing. But what ended up happening is Amazon basically then went and supplied the product back down at £5. So if I continued going and buying 10 to 15 a month, I would have been a little bit screwed over, because now that Amazon is supplying the product a lot cheaper, I can't go and sell them. Now, luckily, Amazon would go out of stock with this product every now and again, meaning I could go and shift these sort of units that I'm kind of now stuck with. But there's one thing to be aware of, is not even just other sellers, but Amazon jumping back on, because they can take a massive amount of these sales. Well, I'm going to go a little bit deeper into that with mistake 4. Mistake 4 is that people will go and restock the stuff that basically isn't selling as much as it was in previous months, and that's tying up all their capital, not allowing them to go and buy the ones that are selling a lot more often. Arbitrage is basically just a big cash flow game. If you're consistently making good decisions, you're going to have more money to be able to consistently buy those good deals. But if you start making bad decisions, then what's going to happen is your cash is going to get tied up in these stock that isn't going to be able to sell on, and you're going to be able to see those good deals, and you're not going to be able to capitalize on them because you've oversupplied on those bad deals. And here's why it can be really rough with the Amazon business model. And that's because Amazon can take about 1 to 2 weeks for you to be able to actually get that money once something sells on. Meaning if you've got something that's very slow to sell on, it can affect you for the whole month. Especially if you've paid in advance prep fees, you've maybe gone and paid money for materials, obviously you've paid for your shipping inbound, you've got lots of costs that basically you're not getting your money back because you're not selling your products, and even if you do sell your products, you're then going to have to wait 1 to 2 weeks on top of that. So something people love looking about is profit and margin. For example, if they can go and turn their £1 into £1.50 or their tenner into 50 quid, that looks great. But the reality is cash speed is also something that's really important. So what's cash speed? That is basically how fast you can go and turn your £10 into £50. Because if I can go and turn £10 into £30 or £100 into £300 in 2 weeks, that's way better than turning £100 into £500 in 3 to 4 months. It doesn't look as appetizing, but because I can get that money in, probably go and buy another product or even go and buy multiple products by the time one product is going to sold on, that product with a lower margin, a lower profit, is actually beating that one with a higher margin and a higher profit because you can again buy multiple deals by the time you'd be able to actually sell that higher margin profit. So one thing I'll do, for example, is sometimes I'll go and buy 3 to 5 of a unit, see how it does, and if they do well, then I'll go and buy lots. In fact, I interesting enough go and buy 3 to 5 because I think if I just go and buy 1 unit, who knows if that might have just been a bit of a fluke. But 3 to 5 units will actually show me what is the time difference between the first unit and the second unit selling, and then the second unit and the third unit selling. And again, a little bit more with 5 units. Sometimes I'll even go and trial it with 10 units. And then what I might go and do is see, okay, well, it took, 5 days to clear out 3 units. I now might go and use this as a sort of metric of how much I want to go and buy. Do I want to go and buy 1 month's worth with the presumption that I can go and sell 3 units in 5 days, or so on and so on. And on the other hand, sometimes I'll go and buy 3 to 5 units and they will be a slog. They will be impossible to go and sell on. And then I go, hey, I dodged a bullet there. These 3 might go and sell on in the next 3 to 6 months. Not what we want, but it's why we sometimes go for a trial buy and then we go and follow up with a bigger order once we have a little bit more data. This is especially useful on listings when they don't have too much data in the past, because of course if a listing has loads of data, then we don't really need a trial buy. But let's say maybe there's only FBM sellers in, or they've been out of stock for a few months, then it's sometimes good to test the water because you can basically gauge the demand, or you can be the person who sets the demand to then go and buy it in the future. And the 5th mistake is sometimes just people are doing processes too manual. With arbitrage, sometimes you can be selling 300 SKUs, 500 SKUs, maybe even excess of 1,000 SKUs. And the thing is, when you're starting, a spreadsheet can really be used to maybe go through 30 products or 50 products, but once you're really scaling, spreadsheets can end up taking so much time that time can be spent way better maybe sourcing or making other decisions in the business. And I remember very early on, there were some really good deals I got, but I didn't go and buy enough of them, and I didn't really have the know-how of how much I should go and resupply and how long the stock would even last. This as a result, when these products did go and sell out and they were great deals, I wasn't able to go and resupply because by then they'd already all gone and sold out, or I hadn't really been able to gauge how many I should have bought. And that's why about a month or 2 into my journey, I had to go and start using something like SellerToolKit, because it gives me the information, it gives me the data to be able to go and make those educated decisions. And this is the reason I was using SellerToolKit way before I was even making videos for them, because it allowed me to make more educated decisions, and it really allowed me to see how my business was running rather than having to abstract random data from all over Amazon Seller Central. In fact, everything I've been talking about in the last 10 to 15 minutes in today's video, the smart replan on SellerToolKit does automatically for every single SKU every single day. It pulls in real speed sell time from Amazon's API, it factors in your lead time, it looks at SKUs that you're running low on, and for convenience, it creates a list of what SKUs you should be resupplying, for what price, and how many of. And this was made by Amazon sellers who scale past the spreadsheets and hit the same wall you're hitting right now. And as a result, they went and built SellerToolKit to go and solve it. So if you take one thing away from today's video, it is to go and run some lead days on your top 10 most selling SKUs, because I guarantee that one of them is probably running closer to the stock out closer than you thought. And if you want all of this done for you, days of covered tracking, restock alerts, sales trends, and the framework running on every single one of your ASINs, well, there is a free trial to SellerToolKit in the link in the description. And you can connect it to your Seller Central account, and within 3 minutes, you'll already be able to see which stock you're about to run out of. And if you want to watch another video on how to further optimize your Amazon business, make sure to check on this link right here.